Okay, so one thing about rich people is that if you pay attention to the way they build wealth, you discover that almost all of them use the same formula. And that same formula is rich people pay attention to security of their money. Now, they don't make decisions carelessly. Before they do something, the first thing they consider is, if I do this, what are the chances of me losing my money or making a profit? Because they know the more profit they make, then the more they stay richer. So in order to ensure that somebody stays profitable, then your investment should go into something that is strong, capable to be able to give you calmness. You're not going to have worry. So from the statistics, you discover that real estate is one of the major investments that provides security and peace of mind.
And today we'll be examining 8th peak. Why the wealthy invest in real estate. In today's episode, we'll be hosting a wonderful personality, a man after God's own heart, the professor in the real estate industry. It's not that person than Mr. Henry Inegedu, the MD of Housing Professors Empire. Mr. Henry, please, can you talk to
me? I have to smile because I noticed in the Bible, it's only David that have that privilege, a man after God's heart. So if God find me one, after his heart, there's a whole lot. So thank you, Florence. So I'm Henry, of course, a lot of you know. My name is Nigedu Henry Sampson, and popularly known as Housing Professor. So that title, Professor, is because of the detailed attention I pay in every real estate transaction whatsoever. So it's a pleasure to have you on the show this morning, or to be right here. Of course, it's something we're doing together. Yeah. But I believe that the idea is to be able to help people understand the reason why they should pay more attention to building sustainable wealth through real estate. So thank you, Florence. Yes.
You're welcome, sir. So, Prof, can you tell us the reason why the wealthy always have real estate investment in their portfolio?
Okay, so one thing about rich people is that if you pay attention to the way they build wealth, you discover that almost all of them use the same formula. And that same formula is rich people pay attention to security of their money. Now, they don't make decisions carelessly. Before they do something, the first thing they consider is, if I do this, what are the chances of me losing my money or making a profit? Because they know the more profit they make, then the more they stay richer. So in order to ensure that somebody stays profitable, then your investment should go into something that is strong, capable to be able to give you calmness. You're not going to have worry. So from the statistics, you discover that real estate is one of the major investments that provides security and peace of mind. Wow. So a lot of them direct most of their funds into assets, real things they can feel and touch, unlike some other things that can disappear or that is not tangible. For example, I do tell people that there are 3 classes of investment. There is a high-risk investment, there is a mid-risk investment, and there is a low-risk investment. So real estate falls in that part where your risk of investment is low, and there's always a better return.
Wow, that's to say that real estate is the only thing that is real. Other things may, be destroyed, but real estate remains real.
Absolutely.
Wow,
absolutely.
That's wonderful. So can you tell us what exactly is different between investment in real estate and investment in other fields and other trades? What's the exact difference?
Okay, so the difference, just like I already pointed out, is that there are several investment options people have out there.
Yeah.
Like I already mentioned, there are 3 types of investments. You can talk about high risk, mid risk, and low risk investments.
Yeah.
Now, when you want to talk about high risk investments, you look at some things like forex, FX, right? We're currently in the world now where forex market have become one of the major things. A lot of people are just throwing their money anyhow. Now, it's an investment in the sense of people just putting their money there to be able to get a return. But most times, people encounter terrible losses in it. Like I was sharing with a friend a story about somebody, one of the very popular known billionaire in Nigeria, that lost his life because he invested over $20 million in the forex market. That's an investment. Actually, he put his money there because he was told that if the market is traded, that's a daily trade, kind of the way they do it. So if you put in the money there, then over time, or as the person is trading, the money is going to be multiplying. So this guy first puts a small amount of money, and I think it's probably around 5,000 or something, just a small certain amount of dollars, and they traded it, and boom, the profit came higher. So because in forex you can see $100 can be flipped into $1,000. It can happen like magic, right? Now, so to this guy, he saw how the whole thing happened. I was like, what? This small amount of money is suddenly what I'm seeing like this. So now if I use the big money so I can make a bigger more money, right? Now he then went ahead and asked most of his friends to loan him money, to borrow him money. Some people give him $1 million, some give him $500,000. So he borrowed everything together. Put together, he had over 20 million US dollars. He put into the forex market, and guess what? The market just messed the whole thing up. This guy just woke up to discover that $20 million is left with few dollars. So the wife was really not much close to the wife. Of course, knows that something happened to him, but the whole detailed information was not so clear to the wife. So he was just feeling sober, having a kind of a slow walk around in the house, contemplating what he's going to tell people that borrowed him money. And down the line, the only option that came to him is to take his life. In fact, one of the sad stories I've ever heard that happened in the FX market. And then the guy, took something, and then he lost his life. Now, what I'm talking about is that to him, it's an investment. To many people, it's an investment. They put in their money so when they want to get a return. But the problem is, if you look at it, you discover that it is not sustainable. It is not guaranteed. So, under high-risk investment, you can look at some things like forex. You can look at some things like crypto, right? I have equally seen a situation where people lose almost all their money in the crypto market. Now, it doesn't mean that people are not winning in this thing. Well, I want us to get it clear, right? It doesn't mean that people are not making profits. But the truth of the matter is, there's a high chance of you losing everything. Yes, because right now you can see some young guys, 17 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, different kind of things that claim, of course not claiming, but they're making money in one way or the other. But the truth is that they are equally encountering terrible losses. So for people who are actually in the way of investment, right, real estate is considered to be more sustainable because when you put your money into real estate, that is that security. Once you do it the right way, the only chances of your loss is when you do it the wrong way. As long as the right way is done, you're cool. Then mid-risk investment is when you talk about other options like stocks, and most of these ones, they still carry their risk, but they are not as heavy, as FX, crypto, and the rest of other kind of things like that.
Wow, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
So, what do you think made the rich to always invest in a property that continually give them income instead of investing in other markets?
Okay.
They keep on investing in real estate.
Okay.
So what do you think always push them, no matter how many hectares, how many buildings, how many estates they have, to the point that sometimes they forget some of their property that they own. What do you think pushes them, that give them that kind of stamina?
I think I'll pick it from the point of legacy.
Okay.
There's not a point in life where you begin to think about, I need to build legacy for myself and what people that are coming after me need to enjoy. For example, would a rich man buy property? Now, he is first of all buying to keep himself comfortable or to be able to ensure that he have a cash flow. Now, for example, you talked about something that will always be bringing in money, more like a cash flow. Now, most of them, they actually buy properties, let's say building or whatever, so it can be generating a return, let's say monthly, let's say annually, right? If there's something like a residential property, the person can be making money maybe every single residential every single year. Some people that are doing rentals. And right now we have some things like the shortlet and the rest of that, so where people can make money even daily, right? Now, but beyond just that money that comes in every single day or every single year, some know that, okay, look, if I have a lot of this, now it means that I'm building something for the future. So I need to buy more because my generation is going to expand. My community is going to expand. When I mean community now, my family will one day turn to a community. You know what I mean? Like by way of expansion. Okay, let's say the person now have 3 kids. So those kids are going to get married. They're going to have their children. Children are going to have children. So over time, there will be a large family. So therefore, if I acquire more properties, if I acquire more estate, if I build more houses, if I build more duplexes, if I buy more properties, have more hectares, a lot, as much as I can. So I'm sure that in the future, no matter the number of the children we have, we are rest assured that our property is too big enough to be able to keep the name going, right? And what that does is that every single children, every upcoming kid is going to know that my father or my great-grandfather, let's take for example now, you are the person that actually built such wealth. So your children will always refer back to, oh, our great-grandmother, she bought a lot of property. Most of these property you're seeing come from Florence, kind of, right? So the name will always be remembered for generation, to be able to keep the name going. I have there was a time I was in Ikoyi, right, and there's a certain property that we were trying to make inquiry for. We noticed that almost all the property we had within the entire axis, like the property within that entire space where we're inquiring for property, is owned by one person. Yes, they said that the father bought it like when the whole thing was cheap, and he bought a whole lot. Even in Abuja here, if you look at a place like Gwarimpa, a lot of people sometimes trace Gwarimpa that it was bought almost by, what do you call it? Oputa. Yes. So that name is strong now. Anytime people make reference to what's the name of his son, Charlie Boy, say that his father's property. So it has kept the name strong. Now think about the space of Gwarimpa. You see how large the estate is. We have Gwarimpa, what do you call it? Phase 1, Phase 2, Avenue. First Avenue, second Avenue, up to 7. So it's a very large community, and somebody occupied it. So same thing is happening to other locations, right? So rich people, they buy more and more, they get more and more properties for one singular purpose. The more I buy, I know in the future the name of the family will be stamped. People will get to know that, look, this generation or this particular family, they are there. That's number one. Then number two is that some of them buy this property for another good, and for the purpose of what do you call it? Some of them buy this property for the purpose of let's say wealth preservation. At a certain period of time, they feel like this money I have now, the best way I can save it, keep it for long term, or to make sure that it is sustainable, is through property. And as I always tell people, that anytime you want to buy property, if you have the money, buy more property. Because by the time when those places are going to go up, you just discover that, look, it could have been better for me that I bought more plots. Let's take for example, there's a place called Ibejuleki in Lagos. This Ibejuleki, there was a time people were looking at those places. They give you a plot of land there for like 200,000 naira, you can hardly take it. But what happened when government turned into that axis? It was something else. So some people that bought then, that's some people that were just buying one plot, but some were smart enough to get something like 1 hectare, 2 hectares, 3 hectares, fence it, that kind of thing, right? So when the place now came up, government now came up, brought in the seaport, Dangote refinery is right there, international airports, several things. People are trooping into that area. Even the Dangote refinery alone is taking over 20,000 workers there in that refinery. So the whole of that entire just boomed up. So people who bought larger are not making it big. So for capital preservation and for legacy, I think that's my own response to
this. That is just to say that the rich, the wealthy,
sure,
they use real estate to write their name on the marble for their generation.
Permanently.
That's sure. Wonderful. You made mention of them leaving it for a long time and all that.
Yeah.
I discovered that some wealthy people, even when they run into debt, they don't sell off their property.
Okay.
Even to the point they go to bank to get very large sum of loan, pay the higher interest rates and all that.
Yeah.
They never sell off their property. What do you think that is in their mind? Even when they have what to sell and get that money.
I think I've actually seen that most times. Why some of them are not very quick to selling property from observation is that first they are careful of the future.
Okay.
Now think of what it means that you buy property in a certain location, and let's say you are rest assured that very soon things will start happening there, right? Now a problem does strike immediately, and the person just rush to go and sell. Now instead of looking for alternative to be able to solve the problem, sometimes it's only when you don't have any other means. Let's say any other means. That's what they call worst case scenario. Now, but what the rich people do is that when they have a problem, They approach financial institutions like bank, they approach big institutions, they get a loan from them and find a way to manage to settle that problem instead of liquidating the entire property they have. First, they don't do that because they want to believe that the property they have, they want to give it more time to appreciate more in value. Like, for example, I was talking to somebody, I always share this story. A woman told me that the property she bought at 15 million naira in Guzape here, in very close to Koza Church, that she ended up selling the property for 750 million.
Wow.
From 15 million naira to 750 million.
Within specific of how many years?
I think that should be like between 6 years or 7 thereabouts.
Wow.
Yes. What happened there is that she didn't expect that development is going to jump fast the way it came to Guzape.
Yeah.
If you watch Guzape, there's something that happened very, very, very fast in Guzape. Asokoro is one of the top places where everybody in Abuja knows that the entire political bodies, have their livings there. What do you call it? A lot of embassies. Yes, they have their offices there. So several people, so immediately Asokoro start getting filled up. Companies are coming in, but they're no longer seeing offices. So most of them started moving into Guzape. So a lot of politicians noticed that, look, I can no longer get a space of land as enough as I can here. So let me move into Guzape. So that was a mod push going into Guzape. So the development of Guzape happened so fast. And as we were just going, everything was happening. Most of the people that bought the property there at a very small amount of money. They didn't expect how the whole thing jumped up so high. Wow. So it happened to be that her property was along the Koza Church. There's a Koza Church in that Guzape after H made this. So that's where she bought the plot. And Koza came and put in their church there. Some real estate companies started coming in, people started coming in. The first time we approached her for that property, I could remember, she valued the property at 400 million. So myself and my clients were just talking, we're telling her mother, 400 million, that kind of thing, trying to negotiate. He said, this is the best we can. So after the whole thing, we delayed, we didn't transact, so we left. 4 months after that, we came back. That's when she told her her property is now 750 million. It was so funny. It was 750 million. And yet we are still contemplating whether we should. Next time she said it's off the market.
What's the size of the plot, please?
Give or take should be around, I think it's around 1,500 square meter.
Wow.
Yes. And right now as I speak to you, that same 1,500 square meter as of today, today is the 2nd of March 2026. The value of that property right now, 1,500 square meter, in that location where it is now, should be close to 2 billion naira. 1.5 because if you check now in Guzape right as of today, if you say a property of 800 square meter, the value is always between 900 to 1 billion. So and where her own is that position now, the value should be between 1.8 to 2 billion. So if I even voted a little bit more further, then it could even go more higher. These are realities, verifiable, information. As long as Guzape main, you see that's the fact. So in my opinion is that these people don't rush into sales of properties because they want to be careful about what will happen tomorrow. They don't want to have a heartbreak. So they find solutions to solve their problem.
Okay, sure. They actually wait for massive
appreciation. Yes, before they sell. Yeah.
That's a wonderful one. So Prof, as a professor in the real estate market, so what do you advise those that are still making little millions to do about investment in real estate?
Traditionally, I have learned that the first way to build wealth as a young person coming up is to look at the people that are there before you. Okay. Now, who are the people that are there before you? Look at the people that are multimillionaires. Look at the billionaires. Check out how they built their wealth. Ask yourself a question. So first, if you are convinced that you want to follow the path, how they built wealth, then it will help you in your own decision making. How do they do? They start buying properties. They start investment in real things that last, things that are sustainable. Now, for example, if you're a young person coming up, you're just making some few millions, see your first 1 million, first 2 million, first 3 million, 5 million, that kind of thing. Try to find a way to be buying property within your capacity, within your level. Build that culture. That's that. I had a friend. Well, yes, now we have turned to a friend, but he's a client to me in the sense that I went to buy a phone in Barnes. I think I got about two phones from him, two promises and all of that. iPhone. So he repairs iPhone, the young guy. So when I finished, he asked me, sir, that he want to buy a car. And can I advise him about this one about car? And I just told him that look, I don't have any knowledge about cars to that extent, But I asked him a question. What do you want to do with the car? He told me that he wants to buy a car because he needs to start driving to work every time and the rest of that. This guy is very young guy, he's in 20 something years, very young. So I then asked him, that's a good idea, but how well have you been investing in Abuja? They were like, he said, no, Asa, no property, anything land. I don't want that issue. I don't want that wahala. To see the way the guy screamed. Like I was like, bro, is there any problem? Why do you shout? He said, look, that the worst thing you have seen that put people in trouble is property, and he doesn't even like that kind of thing. How can somebody buy a property? He told me a story about his location. He said he demolished the house and the rest of that. So he experienced it, and since then he's so tensed. He don't want to approach anything called property. That anytime you want to buy property, he have to go back to his village, either to go and build a house or whatever. So I now said, look, the young man. I think you are correct, but you are losing the whole thing, right? You should ask a question, what's the right way to buy property? Not that you are not interested or you cannot do property business, right? So this is the only way you can be able to structure your investment and make sure that you are growing. So I think he was able to listen to me, and then we had another good time to discuss further. But to cut the long story short, this guy ended up buying a property of 15 million naira that I identified for him. Wow. 15 million. Now listen, this guy wanted to throw that money into buying a car. Because I'm also asking, from where you are walking to your house, from where you are walking to your house, how many minutes? He said about 10 minutes. I asked him, do you have a traffic issue when you come to work? No. Once you come out to board a car, you get to where you're working. And now you're not using the car. And again, the guy gets too busy. So once you come to the office, you park this car from 8 a.m. The guy closes work as late as 9 p.m., sometimes 9:30. People get him so busy because he's one of the best guy that picks iPhones. In fact, I was even recommended to him when he worked on it for the first time. So literally the whole of the day, you're not using this car. So the only time you use it is on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. You're a young guy and you need to build wealth. You need to save your money. And I told him, look, from the one I'm seeing, you don't need this car now because it's not solving a major thing for you. I actually tell people that car is a liability to some people, but there are some people that car is not a liability to them in the sense that they use it for business. So but for you, it's a liability for you as of this moment because you don't need it to that extent. If you have to use it, that will only be only on Sunday when you go to church and come back. So start sowing the seed of investment somewhere first. So the guy listened and then bought that property, and after some time, 1 year after the plan, 2 years, we just went to go and check the property. It was a complete story of success for him. Wow. He was so excited. In fact, what excited me much is that the developer himself who owns that project, at the time we came there, he built about, let's say, there's some few houses in the estate, then just very few. The whole place were just empty land and the rest of that. So the guy bought. 1 year, 2 years of coming back, the whole place is already built. Like they have built everything. The guys were surprised that the only plot remaining in that estate is just his own plot and another person's plot that is close to him. Wow. The whole place is developed. Like he said, Prof, he says, I'm happy, thank you so much. Everything, the whole excitement was more. I told him, calm down. I told you, that excitement, I could see that. And that's just because he listened to me. But more interesting story is that the value of the property have gone so high. The guy bought at 15 million. I think the idea behind the time we met the property, I think the value is within that year. They've gone up to like 26 to getting to 30 million. Yeah, because we have to add the
amount of money is to look at properties that is within their level, within their capacity. I think I like the idea of what's happening right now in the real estate sector. Why some real estate companies give people opportunity that you can make payments for property over time, right? Where you can pay on installment gradually, bit by bit. Take something, take a property that that's not going to break your bank, that is not going to spend all your money. Just carve out, make sure that you have a particular money you have already planned for investment. So with your little few millions, it can be 1 million, it could be 2 million, it could be 3 million. Look out for areas where that kind of amount of money can get you something, and then get started first. Because the idea behind it is the culture. What I see here is culture first. The culture means get a culture of investment. Sometimes I've come to discover that some people really don't have a culture of investment. It's a terrible thing. Culture is something that become part of you. You do it consciously or unconsciously. Like most of the rich people, anytime they want to buy a property, they are not thinking twice because they've done it over and over and over. And as a young person, the idea of even starting when you have a small money is that when you start buying property when you are making some 50 millions, that will become the time where you can be able to test all your risk, make your mistakes, and then you can be able to stand the chance of doing better when you now have the real money. Now, I round up with this story. I Yesterday I was in my house and I had a friend who visited me, and at the course of our conversation, we're just having a wine, and then he told me that one of his friend lost his property or is having a property issue, and that's his first time he's investing in property. He's a very young guy who visited me, and I asked him what's the problem. He told me that the guy bought a property of 5 million, and when he wanted to start doing something on the property, a lot of people came around. I mean, like up to like he had like four different people claiming the same property, right? So the guy that was talking to me is a very young guy, and then his friend who bought two is a very young person. And of course, me, I'm young, so we could just say the level of everybody being young. Now, I didn't ask him a question. I was like, "But what exactly transpired? What happened?" Because the guy was angry about what they are doing to his friend. So he said, No, that the whole story is just people are encroaching on the land and the rest of that." So, okay, call that your friend. Let me hear from him. So he called his friend. And guess what happened? The friend told me, he called his friend, he put it on last week. I was talking to his friend. I asked his friend, what's the problem? How do you lose your property? The guy told me that, he bought this property. It was 5 million. Last year, 2025, he bought it. I think around December. And now he wants to do something, and the people are coming out from everywhere. And then asked the guy a question. What happened at the cost of the transaction? What resulted to the loss? What's the title document you have on the land? Who and who? That kind of thing.
Yes.
Do you know that I was shocked to hear that this guy said, hey, that first of all, he bought the property and the document they gave him somehow is a forged document. He doesn't even know it's a forged document. The the person, more of like an agent that had access to the real copy of the document, altered it, and they are duplicating it, selling to other people. Fake document. That's number one. Then number two, the guy did not even pay money, even to the name that is on the title document of the land. Let's take for example now, we let's say housing professor, for example, if somebody is buying the property from me, now the property does not even carry the name. Let me talk about individual name now. Let's say something like Mr. Okoye, somebody. He didn't pay money to the exact name on the document. He transferred money to an agent account, like the agent who is recommended the property to him,
Yes.
gave him an account, and you send money to an agent account. So now the property does not have any trace that he did have the business with the owner of the land. So he told the person just told him, no, trust me, I'm not going to eat your money. And he sent his 5 million naira there. Though it's actually 5 million, but it's a lot of money for him because he's just a young coming up person. That's his first experience in property. So, and I told the guy, I said, that's a total mess. Right now you're angry and the rest of that. I said, look, it's obvious that one, you did not do your due diligence. Do you go and conduct a search? No. He said, what's a search? The guy don't even know what's called search. I said, there's way you go and check your property to know whether it is genuine or not. In FCDA, you have to go and check in agents, even if it's area council, go and do your findings. So the guy, all of this I was speaking was just strange to him. And I told him again, it's obvious that you don't even know anything about property. At least you could have consulted a lawyer. Let a lawyer help you on the process. Do this search for you. So the guy was like, the whole thing I'm saying was just sounding so strange to him for the first time he's hearing it. So I now told him, look, first of all, I like the decision you have taken. So I've taken a first bold step first of starting investing in real estate. But right now, you need to now learn the lesson. Because if you learn the lesson now, tomorrow, you're not going to stay stronger and better. So whenever you see a property you want to buy on a property, don't just jump into it. There are process to these things. That is the way you are meant to move. You need to have a right set of knowledge, right set of information. The process of due diligence, you need to engage a professional since you don't know how to do it. The guy was like, oh, thank you, and the rest of that. But I just encouraged him. I said, don't be discouraged. I will try the best I can. Let me see if I can engage my legal person to help interrogate those people and see whether there is any money we can recover from them. But it's obvious that you did not do any legal property transaction. Because the proof that you have a real estate transaction with somebody is not just that you sent money, it's the legal part of it. That's the honest truth. So as a young person, start small with what your money can afford for you and then learn on the process. You discover that as you keep making more money and you keep getting bigger, it will be a culture you have built. You can easily buy more properties.
Hey, that's a wonderful roundup. That's to say, even as you're advised to
start paying up small, invest within your means,
Yeah.
within your reach. You have to do diligence
Yeah, absolutely.
before making payments.
Absolutely. That one is
Because there is a
100%.
maxim in law that said, Nemo dat kon non habet.
Mm.
You cannot give what you don't have.
Absolutely.
So those agents, they can manipulate documents and you will not have any legal backing because you didn't do due diligence before acquiring that property. Those agents, they cannot give you, transfer ownership that they do not have at the first place.
Exactly.
So it is risky to just venture into any property, especially when it sounds so cheap.
Exactly.
Do your due diligence. And when you want to buy, ensure you are buying from a real estate company.
Yeah.
And that will save you from so many stress and from so many court cases. That will be all for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for being in this show. It has been wonderful having you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers out there. I'll see you in the next episode, which will equally be more educative.
So,
This
thank
is
you.
Real Estate Bits.
So, the Property Voice of Africa. So here we are together, and you are here to listen to us, and at the same time, equally have opportunity to have a sitting with us. If you feel like this is somewhere, a place where you can also share an experience, you might likely have some engineers, some top experienced people who have what we're doing.
Of course, even architects.
Architects, yeah. So I recommend you can join us on the show, the Real Estate Bits of the Voice of Africa. This is Barbara having the Empire. We are excited, and we have passion to ensure that we help solve a larger risk problem in Nigeria of people running into scams or having a bad experience in real estate, and at the same time teach people as well how to build sustainable wealth through real estate.